Girls of Reddit, what is the creepiest thing a man has said to you in public? Man in club came up to me and said, "Just thought I should let you know that you have great birthing hips." I had rainbow-colored hair as a teenager. One time at work a 60-plus-year-old customer said to me, "Does the carpet match the drapes?" Never mind. You probably don't have any down there. I've never been so uncomfortable. While I was cutting a man's hair at beauty school, he told me to keep talking because it excites him a lot and proceeded to show me his mini-me. At that point I'd just give him a really f***ed up haircut. You're gonna get spanking in a sing-song tone. I was working at a mom-and-pop burger joint and made a silly mistake. I was 19 at the time. The dude in question was 60/70ths. When I got embarrassed he acted proud of himself and stated, "Look how red she's turning." Had a strange old man ask my 3-year-old if she wanted to go home with him. And then you ran him over with your car, right? Twice to be sure, right? I was in Paris at a Christmas market and a guy came up to me and told me I was very beautiful. Before I could say anything back, he said, "You know, I've been following you for a while and saw your friends walk away from you. I could kidnap you so quick. They would never see you again." Then he laughs. And my friend, who was only like 8 feet away and heard this exchange, pulls my arm and we start fast walking away. We cut down so many alleys, popped in and out of shops, and got on different trains since it was nearly impossible to know if he was still following us. There were 3 of us, and while we really have no idea if he had actually been following us for a while, we assume he had been around long enough to know we spoke English, since he didn't approach me speaking French. I worked at a truck stop and needed a driver to sign something, but didn't have a pen. He was a super gross old fat guy, missing quite a bit of teeth. He said that I could borrow his pen, but then I'd have to get in his truck with him. He was going to lock the doors and I wasn't allowed to get out. I recoiled in horror as he gave me the most disturbing smile. The thought of raping me and telling me about the fantasy truly made his day. Not so much what was said at first, but the insistence and continuing to walk with me on my route for like 20 minutes that I must save his email address. Words alone are creepy on occasion, but it's the absolute worst when there's an element of being trapped. "You don't look 13. I want your number." 911. Was walking with my friend and a random dude said to her, "Hey cutie, I like the way you walk." When we ignored him he said, "We're high school kids, barely 5 feet tall." He followed us for 2 blocks before we made it to a crowded crosswalk. I was in 6th grade and had 3 boys discuss my breasts in front of me like I wasn't there. The first boy said I stuffed my bra. The second one came up and explained to him how he could know that I didn't. The third joined in the explanation of real versus fake like they were looking at a painting on a wall while I sat there flabbergasted at being noticed in that way. I was 17 and cleaning a window at work on one knee. Guy, in front of his approximately 8. "Yo son, you like being on your knees? It happens a lot more the younger women are." Creepy guys know that the older we are the less likely we are to stand for that shit. So if you're young who gives a shit about being polite, give them a curled lip, raised eyebrow and a well-placed EW and watch their faces fall. I was once stalked by a man who worked in the store that was next to mine and he had told me that he made his Skyrim character to look like me. What's the matter? Can't stand the sight of a strong Nord woman. Had an older man ask me to stir his mixed drink with my finger to make it sweeter. This was at a fancy-ish dinner party my family attended. I was 13. This guy was around 50. He went on to make a joke about me eating a sucker later on. Something about blowing pop. Still makes me nauseous after 20 years. This was a guy who had found my Facebook in about half a second. I have no idea how. People I want to give it to can't find it without my help. So how does sex work for you? Does it hurt you? How do you do it? He'd found out I was disabled and decided this was an excellent and appropriate conversation piece. I was wearing my horseback riding clothes. He held the door for me and said, "You can ride me." When I kept walking into the store ignoring him, he screamed after me, "Hey bitch." I said, "You could ride me. This is why we can't have nice things, people." Merry Christmas, baby, while grabbing my ass in Times Square. It was the summer. Thanks for the silver razzmatazz. I got followed through Walmart and the guy kept passing by me, and every time he would whisper, "God, you're so beautiful. I love you." I was in Walmart and some creepy guy came up to me and my sister and pointed at his junk in sweatpants, clearly not wearing underwear, and asked if we wanted to touch it. Now I refuse to go to Walmart. I was walking down the street toward a bar to meet some friends one night. A man drove by me once, then turned his car around and drove ahead of me and parked up the street. He walked toward me on the sidewalk. Then when he reached me, turned completely around to walk beside me. At first he tried to be friendly and suggestive, when I wouldn't respond, and tried to walk faster to get to the bar. He told me he was going to put me in his car and take me to a special place. I started to run around a corner. He ducked behind the building there and cut me off ahead. I ran full speed across a busy street to the nearest CVS, which was open 24 hours, and called my boyfriend, who sped over to pick me up. When we walked outside, the man was waiting by the exit with his front and rear car doors open, like he was waiting to force me into his back seat. I totally agree that I should have called the police, but I can't really describe how little rational thought went into my reaction. I also think that unfortunately a lot of women fall victim to the pressure to not make a scene. That societal voice "I'm your head" that tells you maybe you're just being paranoid or overreacting. That tells you not to be that girl. That is powerful and dangerous. I knew full well this man was trying to harm me, and I still didn't want to sound crazy or not be believed. For any women reading this, next time you feel threatened, do not be me. Look crazy, make a scene, scream in public and call the cops. To the people asking what my husband, then boyfriend, did, when I called, I wasn't especially coherent about what had happened, just that I was being followed and needed help. He came from the bar where he was drinking and got me out, and I'm quite glad he didn't know the details at the time and he didn't try to fight the guy. My husband is a large, strong man trained in boxing. He is also Latino. Leaving aside the fact that the guy could have had a gun or a knife, the police have guns, and are not known to respond well to large, possibly intoxicated Latino men starting fights in parking lots. I was 14, out shopping at an Aeropostale when these two dudes approached me. They had to be in their mid to late 20s. They followed me around the store and kept asking me to try on the mini skirt I had picked out, asked me where I lived, my name, and just generally kept following and harassing me. I was super freaked out, hoping that my mom and brother would come back to the store soon to get me out of there. A homeless guy once told me he wanted to throw me in a bathtub full of Jello and make love to me. Screaming across a parking lot as I get into my car, "You'd be lucky if I raped you. Bitches love me." I peeled out as fast as I could. Oh no. When I was 13, a guy grabbed me by the wrist and he said, "Hey sexy, wanna come with me so I can show you something? I love bad girls like you." I was so stupid that I was still worried about being rude and apologized to him for saying no, but when he tried to fully grab my arm I just ran. If you keep losing weight, men are going to be jumping over the counter to get to you. And the counter was at a library. I was 11 in a street market in Italy. A vendor came up and started trying to convince me to marry his son. My dad ran up and was like, "Dude, she's 11. The guy said my son's only 26. It's perfect." At the local bar, there's a little old man like 70 who goes and gets a bouquet of roses and gives them out to all the young girls. It seems really sweet, unless you happen to hear what he's saying. One time he told me that he wonders what my pussy smells like. I don't go to that bar anymore. Once I was threatened with physical violence because I didn't smile when a guy told me to and didn't go out of my way to be nice to him when he sat down next to me. I was also called jailbait by a few customers when I was 15 working at a local sub shop, which my manager and co-workers thought was hilarious. So many more anecdotes could come to mind if I sat longer and thought about it, but those stick out. "When you're 18 I'm going to take you to Europe," said my grade 8 teacher. "You have all your teeth. I like that." I was waiting for the bus. In an argument about why we need train guards. In a room of just men. "Okay, but what's stopping you from being raped in this room right now?" Silence. I was waiting for the train and had my hair in pigtails. Guy in his mid-30s came to me and asked what high school I went to. I told him I didn't go to high school. I was about 26-ish at the time. He looked real disappointed and walked away. Wasn't really creepy until you think about the fact that he wanted me to be in high school and was disappointed that I was not underage. This attractive woman isn't underage. Darn it, puts hands in pockets and sadly walks away. You don't get a view like that every day. I was 10, and bending down to get something off a lower shelf at the grocery store. I was wearing a new lower-cut shirt but forgot to wear my training bra that day. The guy was mid-40s probably. His wife was with him. She looked like she was about to cry. I never wore that shirt again. I did tell my dad after we left the store. He told me what that guy did was sick and wrong, and that next time something like that happened, tell him immediately. I'd cry too. Could you imagine knowing your husband was attracted to children and being that gross in front of you? Divorce right at that moment. I'd be so horrified. Like, the dude had no shame with his wife being there. Nasty.